This is a story about a country you might not know well. It is a story of survival, of resilience. It is the story of Paraguay, a nation landlocked in the very heart of South America. It has no coast, but it has mighty rivers. It has vast, fertile plains. Its population is small, just over 7 million people, but its history is immense. A journey spanning 500 years, from an indigenous economy built on the gifts of the land, to a modern global exporter, brutal wars, colossal dams, an agricultural boom that reshaped the landscape. The story begins with the original inhabitants, the Guarani people. They lived in harmony with the land, small communities, shared resources, they farmed, they fished, they hunted. Long before any European flag was planted on its soil, this land belonged to the Guarani. Their world was the forest, the rivers, the rich earth. They were not building empires of stone, they were building communities. Their economy was local, intimate, and tied directly to the cycles of nature. They cultivated crops that are still staples today. Manioc maize, sweet potatoes. They were skilled hunters and fishers, drawing sustenance from the abundant wildlife of the Gran Chaco and the Paraná River Basin. Trade existed, but it was simple, a local exchange of goods and knowledge, not a driver of wealth. This world was shattered in the 16th century. In 1537, Spanish conquistadors pushed up the Paraguay River. They were searching for the mythical Silver Mountains and for a shortcut to the riches of Peru. They did not find gold or silver. Instead, they founded a city, Asunción. It became a remote, isolated outpost of the Spanish Empire. With no precious metals to plunder, the Spanish turned to the only resources available: the land, the people. In 1811, Paraguay declared its independence. It did so quietly, almost without a fight, but its path would be unlike any other in South America. The new nation's first significant leader, José Gaspar Rodríguez de Francia, held a radical vision. His solution was drastic. He sealed Paraguay's borders. For nearly 30 years, under El Supremo, the country was almost completely cut off. Foreign trade nearly ceased. This policy was called autarky, national self-sufficiency. Francia's goal: protect Paraguay's fragile independence. He refused economic dependence on powerful neighbors. The state took control of vast lands, including former Jesuit properties. It directed the economy, telling people what to grow and how to produce. The government established state-run ranches and farms. This protected Paraguay from foreign interference, but it also meant Paraguay did not modernize. It remained a rural, agrarian society, frozen in time while the rest of the world changed. After Francia's death in 1840, his successor, Carlos Antonio López, began to pry open the door to the world. He understood isolation could not last forever. López and his son, Francisco Solano López, and began state-led modernization. They built roads. They established an iron foundry. They built one of South America's first railroads. The government sent students to Europe to study engineering and medicine. The state built shipyards. The state built a modern army. It is a war that few outside of South America have ever heard of, but for Paraguay, it is the defining event in its history, the War of the Triple Alliance. It began in late 1864. Paraguay, led by Marshal Francisco Solano López. On the other side was a powerful coalition: Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay. The causes are complex, a tangled web of border disputes, political rivalries, economic interests. López miscalculated, thinking he could play his neighbors off each other. It was a catastrophic mistake. The war was supposed to be short. The Allies thought they would crush Paraguay in months. Instead, it dragged on for more than 5 brutal years. The Paraguayan people, fueled by intense nationalism and fear of annihilation, fought with incredible ferocity. Soldiers, many of them just boys, civilians, women, children, farming and providing supplies, but the odds were impossible. Paraguay was outnumbered, outgunned, blockaded from the outside world. The country was slowly destroyed, systematically destroyed, horrifically destroyed. The human cost was staggering, one of the deadliest wars in modern history by population proportion. While precise numbers are debated, historians estimate that more than half of Paraguay's population perished. For the male population, the losses were even more catastrophic. Some estimates suggest as many as 90% of adult men were killed. The country was left a nation of women, children, and the elderly. The war didn't just kill people, It shattered the social fabric of the nation for generations to come. When the war finally ended in 1870 with the death of Lopez, Paraguay was in ruins. Its capital, Asunción, was occupied and looted. Its fledgling industries were gone. Its farms were overgrown. Its national treasury was empty. The country was also forced to cede huge swaths of territory to Brazil, to Argentina, about 1/4 of its pre-war land. Saddled with an enormous war debt, Paraguay had lost its sovereignty, lost its people, lost its future. The proud self-sufficient nation was gone. In the aftermath of the war, Paraguay was desperate. The government was broke. The country needed money to pay its crushing war debts and to begin the slow process of rebuilding. To raise cash, the state made a fateful decision. It put its single greatest asset up for sale. Huge tracts of public land, including forests and fertile plains that had once belonged to the state or local communities, were sold off in massive parcels. The auctions began in the 1880s. The buyers were not ordinary Paraguayan farmers. They were foreign investors, primarily from Argentina and Brazil, and a small, well-connected local elite. They bought up millions of acres for pennies. This fire sale created a new economic and social structure based on the latifundio, the massive private estate. These estates were enormous agribusinesses dedicated to producing a few key commodities for export: tannin, an extract from the quebracho tree used for tanning leather, and yerba mate. Many peasant families, who had farmed land for generations without formal titles, were suddenly displaced. They lost their access to the land that had sustained them. With nowhere else to go, they became low-wage laborers on the very estates that now occupied their ancestral lands. This created a deep and lasting pattern of inequality. Wealth and land became concentrated in the hands of a tiny minority, while the vast majority was left landless and impoverished. This new model made Paraguay dependent on foreign capital and global markets. The country's fate was tied to the prices of a few raw materials. Profits flowed out, or to a small elite. Very little was reinvested in schools or hospitals. The land sale policy solved the short-term cash problem, but it created a long-term social and economic crisis that would define Paraguay for the next century. The first half of the 20th century was a period of chronic instability for Paraguay. The economy sputtered, rising and falling with commodity prices. Politics was a revolving door, coups, short-lived governments. Then came the costly Chaco War against Bolivia in the 1930s. Paraguay won, securing vast, arid territory, but at a great human and economic price. This instability came to an abrupt end in 1954. A general named Alfredo Stroessner seized power in a military coup. He would rule for 35 years, one of the longest dictatorships in modern history. He brought iron-fisted stability, at a terrible price. No free press, no free speech. Corruption was rampant. He rewarded allies, profited through smuggling, and ruled through fear. Economically, his era brought roads, bridges, public buildings, groundwork for an export boom. The 1970s, the decade that changed everything for Paraguay. Two massive forces converged, unleashing an unprecedented economic boom. Force 1, a giant of concrete and steel, Itaipu. Force 2, a green revolution across the eastern plains. Soy. In 1973, Paraguay and Brazil signed the Treaty of Itaipu. They agreed to jointly build the largest hydroelectric dam on the Paraná River. The scale was almost unimaginable. For nearly a decade, tens of thousands of workers descended on the region. The construction boom injected billions into Paraguay's small economy. Itaipu became a source of national pride, and more importantly, a source of virtually limitless, clean, cheap electricity. When it began generating power, in 1984, Paraguay went from energy poor to energy superpower. Paraguay's domestic demand was small, so it sold most of its share to Brazil. That created a steady stream of revenue for the government. While the dam rose, a green revolution swept Paraguay's eastern plains. This was the soy boom. Spurred by rising global demand for animal feed, high commodity prices, and new roads built under Stroessner, land was cleared at a breathtaking pace. Brazilian farmers with capital and mechanized expertise poured across the border. They planted vast fields of soybeans, and to a lesser extent, cotton. Production skyrocketed. Paraguay quickly became a major player in the global soy market. The twin boom sent the Paraguayan economy into explosive growth, the so-called Paraguayan miracle. GDP grew faster than almost anywhere in Latin America. But the miracle had a dark side. Wealth was uneven. The soy boom accelerated deforestation. It pushed small farmers off their land, deepening inequality. The influx of money also fueled corruption and speculation. The 1970s set Paraguay's modern economic path. Social and environmental challenges that remain today. The long dictatorship finally ended in 1989. General Stroessner was overthrown in a coup led by one of his own generals. Paraguay embarked on a new, uncertain journey toward democracy. The transition was not easy. The 1990s were marked by political instability, attempted coups, and a major banking crisis in 1995. The crisis was fueled by years of corruption and weak regulation under the old regime. The government had to implement painful austerity measures. For ordinary Paraguayans, the first decade of democracy was a time of economic hardship and political turmoil, a difficult hangover from the Stroessner years. As the country moved into the 21st century, the economy began to find its footing, though it remained volatile. The pillars of the modern Paraguayan economy became clearer than ever. Soy, hydropower. The soy industry continued its relentless expansion. Improved crop varieties and strong demand from China turned Paraguay into one of the world's top 4 soy exporters. Alongside soy, the beef industry also grew into a major export earner. Itaipu, Yacyretá. This reliance on a few key sectors has made Paraguay's economy both strong and vulnerable. When soy prices are high and the weather is good, the economy booms. But when global prices fall or a drought hits, the entire country feels the impact. Still, the overall trend in the 21st century has been one of growth. Poverty rates have fallen significantly, although they remain high. The service sector has grown. Asunción has seen a construction boom, new shopping malls, and high-rises. Despite this progress, the fundamental challenges remain deeply embedded. Paraguay is still one of the most unequal countries in the world. A tiny fraction owns most of the land. Deforestation is critical. Driven by cattle ranching and soy farming. Weak government institutions and persistent corruption hinder development and erode public trust. Paraguay today is a country of contrasts, a modern, efficient agricultural exporter with some of the cheapest energy on the planet, yet still struggling with the historical legacies of inequality and poor governance. Paraguay's 500-year journey is, above all, a story of incredible resilience. This is a nation that was colonized, isolated, and then almost completely destroyed in a devastating war. It rebuilt itself from the ashes. It endured a 35-year dictatorship. It has navigated painful economic crises and a difficult transition to democracy. Through it all, the Paraguayan people have shown a remarkable capacity to endure and adapt. This resilience is the country's intangible strength. But resilience alone is not enough. The drivers of Paraguay's modern growth are clear. First, fertile land, powerful rivers. These led to the soy boom and the hydropower boom. Second, integration into the global economy. Opening to trade and investment let Paraguay capitalize on global demand. But those drivers are also sources of risk. Over-reliance on a few crops makes the economy vulnerable. Agricultural expansion has come at huge environmental cost. Wealth has flowed disproportionately to a small few. The path forward for Paraguay in 2025 and beyond will be defined by choices made today. The challenges are formidable. Land inequality fuels social tension. Systemic corruption drains public resources. Forest destruction threatens long-term stability. Addressing these will require political will and stronger, transparent institutions. A shift is needed from resource extraction to sustainable, inclusive development. 3 things to remember. 1. Manage land and rivers sustainably. 1. Tackle extreme inequality. 1. Invest in people, better education, better healthcare, and build an economy that adds value at home. From the quiet life of the Guarani to the roar of modern tractors, Paraguay's rise, wars, dams, soy. Today, Paraguay stands at a crossroads, a powerhouse of green energy, a top global supplier of soy. Its economy has grown, yet deep scars remain. The wealth is not shared by all, forests disappearing at an alarming rate. Corruption, a shadow over progress. Understanding Paraguay's journey is to understand the forces that shape so many nations today. Geography, conflict, global markets. Not just economic history, a human story. Farmers who lost their land, workers who built the world's largest dam, families who struggled through political turmoil and economic crises, a people who have endured and rebuilt, facing the critical choices that will define their future.